Welcome back, tech friends. My name's Gareth, this is Tech Check, and today we've got another PC build, but not any PC build. This is going to be absolutely stunning, guys. So, Z790 RTX4080 Super with this 14700K CPU. We're using all the latest QX120 fans. We're putting it in this H9 flow from Nzxt, powering it with a 1000 watt power supply. We've got 2.5 terabytes of Gen 4 Nvme storage, 32 gigs worth of Corsair Vengeance RAM, some really nice braided cables, and we're using the H150 all-in-one, the new IQ Link system from Corsair as well. Stick around, I'll walk you through it, how to build it, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let's do it. So, motherboard up first, CPU, RAM, and NVMEs. Everything else can go. Don't forget, it's all going to be white as well. It's going to be beautiful. Mwah! I mean, look at that, guys. H9 flow, absolutely stunning. Going to house all these parts, unreal. Enough of this, let's get on with the motherboard assembly. So first step is our motherboard, and this is from Asus. It's the ROG Strix Z790A Gaming Wi-Fi. Let's get it out. Let's put it on top of the motherboard box. Now we've got our motherboard out, we can place it on top of our motherboard box, and we'll come and turn our attention to our Intel 14700K. Let's get this out and let's show you how to get it in. There we have our 14700K, guys. 20 core, 28 thread CPU. We've got our P cores and our E cores there, guys. So performance cores are going to be absolutely insane. Opening up our socket, we can undo our retention arm and open it up just like so. Be careful, guys, because the pins are actually in the socket, so we don't want to be smashing this into there. We want to be dropping it in very, very carefully. We have a triangle down in this bottom left hand corner, and we've also got some grooves at the top and the bottom as well. Pop it into the socket, be very careful. There we go. And as you can see, they line up with those grooves top and bottom. We can then fold back our socket, and then we can return our retention arm, and this plastic cover will pop out. There we go. If it doesn't quite pop out, you can always remove it afterwards. I'd highly suggest keeping hold of this just in case you want to sell your motherboard, and then you can protect those pins. Right, next up is our Vengeance Pro RGB DDR5 from Corsair. As it says just there, we've got 32 gigs, 6,000 megatransfers per second. When installing your RAM, we do have a little slot. It tends to be more to the left than it does to the right. All we have to do is match that slot with the slot on our motherboard. We do have a key, which is here, A1, A2, B1, B2. We always, if we've got two stims or two slots or two DIMMs of RAM, we want to utilize A2 and B2, which is the second slot and the fourth slot. We just need to pop those in, make sure that they all line up, and then once you've got it in, even pressure either side till you get that click. Essentially, guys, CPU, RAM, all installed. Let's now move on to our two 980 Pros, 500 gig, 2 terabytes. I'll tell you exactly what we're going to do with them. We'll start off with our 500 gig, and the reason for that is because this will be going on our top drive. It is a Gen 4 drive. This does support Gen 5. Absolutely no reason, unless you're a massive content creator or you're going to be exchanging huge files, guys. Plenty good enough. About 7,500 megabytes a second. This is in terms of transfer. Plenty good enough for our operating system. So let's get this one out, and there we have it. That is our 980 Pro, which is just there. We'll take the screwdriver that everybody asked me for, and this is the WowStick 1F. Again, I'll leave a link down in the description. So we'll undo this top screw here, and again we'll undo this screw here. That should then just lift off. What we're going to do is peel back this little bit of film. Get that out the way. We don't need that. We need to then place our 980 Pro at a 20-degree angle into the slot, push slightly forward, and then you'll see it will bounce up and down. All we have to do in order to connect this is push it down onto our quick connect and then turn that around on top of our M.2, and now that is locked into position. We also, before returning the heatsink, we need to remove the film off the back of here as well to make sure that that doesn't stick and you have plastic all over the top. So we've got that now. We can place that back into position on top there, and we can return these 2 screws. And there we have it, guys. That's our Windows operating drive fully installed on that top drive, which is up there. What we're going to do now is we are going to take off this particular heatsink, and we're going to go ahead and install our 2TB 980 Pro, which can be for your games and everything else along with it. So we'll take these 2 screws out, and I'll walk you through that as well. We'll put it at a 20-degree angle, slide it in, and then we can push it down onto our quick connect, which is down here. Slide that one around, lock it in place, and we just need to make sure that we remove the correct film off of the back of here. We can then replace our heatsink back and tighten down these 2 particular screws here. And within the space of a couple of minutes, guys, if you weren't waffling on like I have been, you should find yourself with your RAM, your CPU, and your 2 Nvmes nicely installed onto your motherboard. It's always better to do it outside the case. You've got more light and more accessibility to the actual motherboard as well. What we're going to do is grab that H9 Flow and get our motherboard installed. And there we have it, guys. H9 Flow from Nzxt. Fantastic dual chamber case, this, guys. Fantastic in terms of full visibility front and side, and so much room, it's unbelievable, and that's why it's a firm fan favorite as well. So we're going to undo these 2 screws, take off our front panel and our back panels, our top panels, and I'll show you exactly how to do it so we can install our motherboard. So our top screw up here can be undone, and then we can push our glass panel forward and then pull it up. Likewise with our back panel, 1 screw, 1 tab, and pull that out. Humongous filter, all vented, the whole back panel. It's absolutely insane for airflow. For the top panel, we just need to push up under the sides and at the back. Again, lovely vented panel, amazing quality, guys. Very, very thick, this particular material as well, and nice to see that is not going to restrict any airflow on that exhaust as well. You can see our front panel connectivity. We've got our USB-C, 2 USB 3s, and then our power switch. Then we've got our headphone jack and microphone jack as well. At the top here as well, if you wanted to go ahead now and remove this particular fan bracket, you can always house your radiator a little bit easier and take this out, so you've not got to have 3 hands in order to hold the radiator in and all that kind of business. If you needed to get more access down the side of here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 little screws, and then this glass panel will come out as well. I don't really need to take that out, in all honesty. We're not putting any radiators in here. We are going to take these particular fans out, but you can actually take the bracket out at the back as well to make it even easier as well. So we are going to be taking these 4 fans out. We are going to be replacing those with QX120s. So I am going to, off camera now, guys, I'm going to take these 3 out and this particular fan out, and then we'll come back and we'll get the motherboard in afterwards. What we're going to do for ease here, guys, as well, is just undo this particular screw. This will then swivel across, which then gives us more access to these particular fans on here. And as you can see, guys, in this case, look how many Velcro straps for cable management. It's insanely good. What we can also do while we're here is take our box of Nzxt goodies, and in here will be all our screws that we're going to require and a few zip ties as well. So keep these handy. As you can see, in terms of the front, we've got our 9 included standoffs for our ATX motherboard. We've got a nice cable management tray here with plenty of room for our 24-pin and other cables to go through. Full massive cutout at the top here, loads of room at the bottom, and I really, really like it. Don't underestimate, guys, how good that actually is, because there's nothing worse when you've got hardly any room and you're trying to feed 2 EPS cables through the tiniest little hole. This is an absolute godsend. Anyway, onto the actual motherboard. Get rid of that. All we've got to remember, guys, if you've not got an integrated IO shield like this one, you need to install that now. We have got a peel on the back of here. Let's take that off now as well. Put that nicely into place. We're now going to grab our box of goodies, which are these ones here. We're looking for all of our screws. And as you can see, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 packets worth in here. We have got our hard drive screws, which are here. We've then got our M3 screws, which are for our motherboard installation. We've got some fan screws. We've got a couple of additional, well, these are standoffs. And then we have got our hexagon screws for our power supply as well. The screws we're looking for, guys, are the 632 x 5mm ones. That's a quick close-up of what that particular screw looks like. Slightly different to the ones with large heads, which make good contact with the grounding pins. As long as they fit slug into the hole and we don't over tighten them, you'll be absolutely fine. We'll go around and do all 9. The next step I think we are going to do is we are going to go ahead, and before we put our all-in-one installed, we are going to get our power supply and we're going to run our 2 EPS connectors. Even though we have got this huge cutout up top here, by the time we have our radiator in, we might not have a load of room. So I want to get them connected now, just in case. Power supply of choice is, again, the A1000G. If you've not seen my builds before, guys, big fan of this particular PSU. I use it in mine with my RTX4080 and 7950X3D. I did a build last week with a 7950X3D and 4090, and I used this A1000G as well. Again, customer, I gave him the options: Seasonic, Corsair, MSI, 10-year warranty, PCIe Gen 5, ATX3 and 80 plus gold rated. Fully modular, fan on, off stop button as well, and comes with the high voltage power cables. Enough said, let's get it installed. What we've also got is from Easy DIY is a really nice 24 pin, well, not a 24 pin, it's a 12+4 cable, high voltage power cable, so 16 pin from our actual PSU into our 40 series cards as well. So we've got one of those. I have got one of the Cable Mod 90-degree adapters, but if you've not already seen, get that out your computer straight away. I started smelling a few issues with regards to mine. Not smoke or anything like that, but just didn't smell very nice. Since I've took it out for the last 2-3 weeks, no problems whatsoever. So those adapters that I do have, even though this one's new, it's still not going to be used. So we are going to be using this cable here. And we have gone for a new set of colourful mod extension combo sleeve cables as well, all in white. And the great thing about these, they've already got all of the actual separators on, or the cable combs on as well, because that's a pain in the bum. So we're going to put them in. We want to take our 6 pin and we can put it into our SATA, which can go there. We've got our PSU 24 pin cable, and we've got 2 connectors here. One goes in here and one goes in here. We want to make sure that these connectors, guys, go all the way in and they make a solid connection. Nothing worse of not having a solid connection. Next thing, we have got our CPU cable, which is here. One thing to note here, guys, the one that says CPU actually goes into your motherboard. It's the other one that you want. We're actually going to put these on this rail down here. So that can go there. And we want one more, which can go just there. Am I going to have easy access? Yes. So I will leave my high voltage cable till the end, so I'm not knocking it around, connecting it, disconnect it, and everything else. Likewise for our cable extensions, we don't need to put them on right now. We'll do it when we've pushed the cables through and we'll connect it so we can see what we're doing. Let's open up this. And all we're simply going to do, guys, remembering that we have a full mesh panel on this side, we want to ensure that our fan can breathe or exhaust air. So all we're looking to do is drop that into position and place it exactly there. We're then going to visit our box of goodies, and we're going to find our 4 PSU screws, which are here. And all we're going to do is simply screw this PSU into place. We now have our power supply nicely installed at the back with the fan that's facing our mesh panel, so that is all good. We'll go ahead and we'll connect our extensions, and I'll push the cables through so we can connect our EPS connectors. Let's get our extension cables out. What are we going to do is take our 24 pin and plug it directly into our extension. Make sure it clips in all the way. Again, don't worry about all of the excess. We can sort that out afterwards. It's not a problem. We want to ensure that our cable is orientated the correct way. So we've got our actual clip on this side that's going to go over here. And all we're going to do is pop it on and click it into place. We can push all of this mess into the back, tidy it all up, not a problem. Onto the actual 8 pins. So just line up our clip with our extension, push it in, make sure you've got a solid connection as well. All we want to make sure is essentially this clip is going up here and fastening over. And then we're going to do the same with the second one. Just make sure we've got our clip orientated the correct way, fold it over and clip it in. That's what we're left with, guys. Our lovely 24 pin, our 2 EPS connectors, and you've not got to worry when you put your all-in-one in, getting access to those 2 particular connections there. It's better to do it before you put that in, and then you're not going to be struggling at a later stage. Now we've got them in, let's move on to our all-in-one. While we're here, guys, we might as well push our front panel connectors through to the front of the case and get them actually cable managed. We've got our HD audio, we've got our front panel JFP1, we've got our USB 3, and we've got our USB Type-C. Our HD audio can come all the way through here and connect onto this one here. There we go, that's that one nicely done. This is our front panel connector here. All we've got to do is match that up with this panel here, push it directly on, no problem at all. So we'll remove our cover from our USB-C. And just be mindfully careful here, guys. It will only go into this connector one way. It doesn't need a lot of force. There's a notch on the top of our USB 3. There's a little notch on the bottom here. We know that that needs to be turned around. So it's going to go in like this. We need to line it up really nicely. Firm push until it's in, and we can push the excess through to the back of the case. 24 pin, 2 8PSs, HD audio, front panel connectors, USB 3, USB-C, all is good. Let's now get the all-in-one installed. The all-in-one in question is their iQ Link H150i LCD, do it all, knows it all, and everything else costs you a fortune. But what it does do, guys, is it saves you a hell of a lot of cables and a lot of nightmares. So the cooler itself, as I said, one of the most beautiful designs of coolers I have seen. My favorite by absolute mile. The only one that comes close is the new Liquid Freezer 3 ARGB one. If you've not seen that, guys, absolutely insane. I picked it up for £77, link down in the description. That being said, that's not an LCD display. This one is at a more considerable cost, around £320 here in the UK. First order of play installing our H150 is our Intel back bracket and our Intel 1700 standoffs, guys. What we're going to do, I'm just going to take this little bit of film off the back here. I've got no nails because I bite them. So let's see if we can just peel this off. There we go. And this is going to help me massively. I'm going to put this into the back of my motherboard, and it's going to come through these 4 holes just here. We can take our standoffs, which is our Intel 1700. And then what we're going to do, guys, is we are going to screw each one of these into each corner of our socket. There you can see they're nice and tight. There will still be a little bit of play in there, and that's done specifically to allow a little bit of flexibility for the socket as well. And the reason why I said once you've got your radiator in, you might find it very difficult to connect these 2 particular connections here. So next up, we're going to take the small screws with an actual washer as well. And all we're going to do is line up our radiator and we are just going to put in a couple of screws just to hold it into position. We don't want this too tight, and we definitely don't over tighten the screws because you could penetrate the actual fin stack on the radiator. So I would advise putting 2 or 3 in just to take the weight of the radiator, and then you can stand it up and we can position it exactly where we want it. We're going to get ourselves some decent MX4 thermal paste, but any other brand will do. We'll put a nice X pattern across here. Make sure you get plenty on there. It's not going to, more is not necessarily better, but especially when you've got a 14700, 14900K, it doesn't hurt. We are going to remove this particular thermal paste off of the bottom of here. I have no idea how long this thermal paste has been on here. Will it be okay? Absolutely fine. Do I want to use it? Not really, no. The arrow indicates the top as well. So we're wanting to make sure that this goes across here onto these 4 pillows, or pillars, shall I say. We then need 4 thumb screws, which are in this top corner, these ones here. And all we're simply going to do, guys, is put 1 on each corner. Now that I've got all 4 on, guys, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start in this top corner, couple of turns, opposite corner, couple of turns, and we're just going to go around the CPU until we get thumb tight. That, guys, is our all-in-one nicely installed. So as you can see down here, we have crumpled up our 8-pin EPSs, and it would be much more difficult to connect them now if you try to do it once you've got your radiator installed. So just be mindful of that. You might be asking, well, why didn't I use this particular set of connections or installation there? And the reason for it, guys, is that's for your 140 fans. It's not looking too bad at all. So the great thing is, guys, that we've already made all our connections already. We've already done all the cable connections. We've already done all the cable management. It's just a case now of putting our 3 fans in at the bottom, our 1 fan at the back, and our 3 fans at the rear. And then I'll show you how to connect all of them together with this link system. Let's go and do that. Let's make this as simple as we can. I think the first thing that we're going to do is we'll install the bottom 3, because effectively we're going to have, we need to be careful of the connections as well. We want to make sure that they're coming out the back side. So we want this at the back here. So that's going to go in there like so. We're also going to want another connection, which is there. We want this set as an intake. So we want the cages at the front, and we want that going in there. So we're going to have this linked to this. This is then going to go into our hub, and then we're also going to have our rear fan, which is going up here, which is going to be linked via a small cable to here. Then we're going to have a long cable from the radiator into the other hub, and then we also need our USB-C from our radiator onto our USB 2 connection so we can control the LCD display. Lots to actually say, much easier when I actually show you doing it. So let's get doing it. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to put our fans into the actual case, but we want to be paying attention to where these particular connectors are. So that's going to go at the bottom down there, but we also need to make sure that that is set as an intake. So we need that connector going on the bottom. So that's going to go down there like so. We also need these set as an intake, and we've got a connector in this bottom left hand corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my cables here, and I'm going to plug this into the bottom of this particular fan like so. And then I'm going to lower that into my case. And I'm doing this now, guys, because it will become a lot more difficult to do it after it's actually in the case. And can you see how this is all crumpled up down here? We don't want that. We don't want any pressure on the particular connectors, so we can turn it round the other way. It's just a bit of trial and error to ensure that we're going to get the best cable management job. Now we can go ahead and connect this to this connection here. Like so. Right, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put 12 screws in the back of these particular fans here, and I'm going to put 12 screws in these fans here, pull out our dust filter so we can get access. What I mean by not tightening them down, guys, is that we've still got that little bit of flexibility. We want to make sure that we've got them perfect in terms of positioning, so we haven't got a gap at the top and then a gap at the bottom. We also want to try and keep these cables hidden as much as we physically can as well. There you can see, guys, we've got our 3 rear fans nicely installed, and we've got our 3 fans at the bottom. We've connected these 3 fans via one of them small 60mm cables to the bottom 3 fans. What we want to do next, guys, is take our next cable and we want to install it into our radiator input here. We again might just have a little bit of to-in and play in here with regards to the actual cable, just to make sure that we can get it the correct way. Now we put our fan in like that, and what we're looking to do is make this connection up here. So can you see how that, it might not fit properly or nicely for me. It might do. There you go. It does actually. So that was perfect there. So we've made a connection from this fan to these 3 fans. And all we're going to do now is screw 4 screws holding the fan into the actual back of the case. Last couple of connections from here then, guys, is very straightforward. We need these 3 particular cables, a small 60mm, the 135 one, and then our USB-C one. So the last couple of cables, guys, we've got our rear fan connected to our all-in-one, and then we've got our 3 fans on our all-in-one, which need to connect into this particular input here. We've got our USB-C from our radiator, which is going to our USB 2 on our motherboard, and then we've got one other output, which is the very long cable that's going all the way around into the back. We'll try and tidy these up as much as we can, but there's still an element of cables, guys, that we can't get rid of. But let's take you around the back and we'll make all the connections to our hub. First cable we'll connect is for our all-in-one and our rear fan, which can go into this channel. And then we will take this long cable, which is our bottom 3 connected to our side 3, and that can go into this channel. So 6 fans on here. We've got 4 fans on this one. We've then got this particular cable, which needs to go to a USB 2 connection on our motherboard so we can control the LCD display. And then we've also got a couple of other connections. We've got one which needs to be powering our hub, which can go into here. And that needs to be powered via our PCIe, shall I say. So that can go in there. We can turn that cable around, and that can plug in there. That's that powered. We've then got our 3-pin CPU header, which needs to be plugged into here, and that needs to go into our CPU header. And last but not least is our USB 2 connection, which pushes straight into there. That connects to our USB 2 header on our motherboard, and that's what connects our hub to our IQ Link software on our computer, so we can control all the colours and everything else. So now that we've done a little bit of jiggery pokery and a bit of cable management around the back of here, we don't look too bad. Mind you, the case really helps you out. What we're going to do now is turn the case upside down, and we're just going to connect those front panel connectors in terms of USB connections and that 3-pin CPU header. You can see here we have our USB connection, and that can either go into this one or this one. We need to make sure we can see where the blank is. So effectively, the blank is down in this bottom right hand corner. So if you have the USB facing upwards, we can turn that around and connect that straight onto there. We can then take our 3-pin CPU header. That goes onto our connection just at the back down here. We just need to line the 3 pins up with the 4 pins and line the connector up and push it on. There we go. And then we can push the excess through to the back like we have done with the USB. The most important part, guys, in any build, especially a gaming PC build, is the graphics card. And this is the RTX4080 Super from MSI, and it is their slim white version, Gaming X. Let's open it up. Let's have a first look at what this actually looks like. Ta-da! Oh, We get a nice included mouse mat. We get our 16-pin to 3 8-pin adapter. We get a nice sag bracket in white. And then most importantly, we have our RTX4080 Super. Well, I don't know about you guys, but if that's the slim version, it ain't much slimmer than any normal 4080. But I tell you what, it looks absolutely insane. 3-fan design, 2.5 slots, solid metal backplate. That'll go nicely with the heat sinks that are on the VRM. There is a few silver accents in here, which is nice. We've got our pass-through here. It's nice that they've got rid of that plastic rubbish. Obviously the frame is still quite plasticky, but it does look really nice. We have DisplayPort, HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort and HDMI 2.1 as well. But there, looks really, really nice. And on the front, we're going to get some nice illumination here, and again down here as well. Really, really nice looking card there, guys. Let's get it into the actual case. When installing your graphics card, guys, it's a good job just to line up your PCIe slot, and then we can understand how many of our express brackets we need to remove. So we're going to need our 2nd, 3rd and 4th brackets taken out of the back of this case. So we just undo these screws. We take our graphics card, we can take off our cover, make sure that's out. We can then line it up. And once you've got it all lined up, guys, firm push down until you hear a click. And that's the sound we were looking for. We can now go ahead and replace the 3 screws. That locks our GPU securely into our case. I think we've made a good choice there going with this bracket. It is definitely going to support it, especially in transport. You don't want this expensive part of the build snapping in transit, so that will definitely help. And with it all being in white, it ties everything together quite nicely as well. Last thing and most important thing is we need to actually power our particular card, and for this instance we've actually gone for easy DIY 16-pin to 16-pin. A lot of people call them 12+4 pins. Doesn't really matter. Identical on both sides. You've got your 12 main pins and then you've got your 4 sense pins. Most important thing here, guys, is making sure that when you're plugging this in, it's plugged all the way in and we're not over bending the actual cable either. So we're lining it up. We're making sure we get a firm connection. There we go. And as you can see, there's no gaps. It's gone all the way in and it's fully clipped. What we want to do now is we want to feed this into the back of the case and we'll connect it onto our power supply. Push it all the way in. Make sure it's got a firm connection. And then what we want to do, guys, is pull the excess through the case and make sure that we don't have any tight turns or bends or any undue pressure on this cable as well. We're going to go ahead and replace the top screw, holding our panel in place, and then we'll replace the second one at the bottom. So we've reached that point, guys, where it's either the best day of your life or it's your worst. And I've been in both situations through either fault of my own or non-fault of my own. So let's pray to the PC gods that everything is done properly. We've got my power to the monitor. We'll flick the power button. I mean, that's a good sign straight away. We're getting a little bit of RGB on this monitor, or motherboard, shall I say. Let's press the power button. Now, I don't expect the RGB fans to light up straight away. We don't have IQ, we don't have Windows, we don't have anything, but this should come on in due course. But the LCDs come on. There we go. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love that. Let's see if the monitor comes on. If we turn the power on. And that's a fantastic sign as well, guys. So F1. Press F1 and that should take us straight through to the BIOS. And Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments. Do you think I did a good job? What would you have changed? Bearing in mind, this is purely going to be gaming. Might do a little bit of video editing, but this 20-core CPU is going to thrash any of them workloads that you may have. I think it's a misconception that an i7 is not going to be able to do half the things that an i9 can do. In actual fact, in some instances, it can do it better at a lower cost, of course. So yeah, overall, RTX4080 Super, the slim version, it ain't pretty slim. We've got the 14700K. We've got 32 gigs of 6,000 mega transfers per second RAM. We've got this Asus Z790A gaming Wi-Fi motherboard. We've got 2.5 terabytes of Gen 4 storage. We've got these 10 QX120 fans. And we've got the new H150i, well, I can't remember what the bloody name is. It's the IQ Link all-in-one. It's in my build as well. It's all housed in this beautiful white H9 flow from Nzxt. And guys, I will honestly tell you, this is one of the nicest, easiest, best cases that you can build in if you're going for a dual chamber case. Yes, I love my Leon Leo 11, but this comes very, very close, if not beats it, in terms of practicality, in terms of how you can actually build in it, the amount of room that you've got in it, how easy it is to build in it, and the aesthetics once you've done it correctly as well. So I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to absolutely smash that like button. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video, and make sure that you subscribe as well. Any questions, feel free to leave them down there in the video description as well. In the comment section, I reply to every question that you may have. All the parts in this build will be linked down in the description as well. And I just want to say thank you, good luck, take your time, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.
Hello, mate.
Right, pal. I've got something to show you.
Right. Jesus Christ. Holy crap.
What do you think of that?